Corruption by Orphaned Account, read to you by The Devil's Advocate 18. Summary: Nakahara Chuuya uses corruption without knowing whether Dazai will make it in time. He doesn't care if he dies here. No one would. The Port Mafia would mourn the loss of an executive and then move on. If only he knew how wrong he was. Chuuya felt his skin burn as he tried to dodge the flames and the bullets. The boss had not mentioned this. He and the Black Lizard were sent here as a last resort to protect one of the Port Mafia warehouses. Some gang was trying to take control of it. A foolish attempt, but the boss was not going to risk anything, so he sent them out. Fucking fantastic. Chuuya shot at someone, the dust too thick to tell who it was. A body fell to the ground. He could hear more and more gunshots and more thuds. They needed to keep this up. He felt something pierce his arm. He looked down, and when he looked back up he glared. Someone had thrown a knife at his arm in an attempt to cut him. It had worked, but the cut didn't feel very deep. He shot at the direction where the knife had come from. Truly annoying. He cursed under his breath and glanced at Akutagawa. It may not seem obvious, but he was struggling to keep up with the enemy as well. His coat was burnt at the sleeves and his palms were bloody. Chuuya looked back at the flames. Around 10 people remained on the opponent's side, but it seemed they had an ability user on their side. How irritating. "Akutagawa," Chuuya shouted. The boy turned to him, waiting for orders. Higuchi and Hirotsu were nowhere to be seen, as well as Tachihara and Gin. They must be extremely far. Chuuya could only hope they were okay. "You stand back. If things get bad, call Dazai." Akutagawa seemed confused, and he opened his mouth to speak, but Chuuya was already taking off his gloves. "Granters of dark disgrace, you need not wake me again," Chuuya muttered. He didn't notice Akutagawa's shock, too absorbed in his own power. If Chuuya was really paying attention, he would have noticed Akutagawa's panic. Corruption took over him, and in that moment Chuuya truly felt like a monster. He destroyed everything that stood in his way. He could hear gunshots, screams, and footsteps running farther and farther away from him. Using corruption hurt. It burned. He hated it. And that shitty Dazai wasn't here to make it stop. That was alright, Chuuya thought, as he destroyed. He was fine with it. He was fine with dying. As long as everything stayed the same. As long as Akutagawa and Gin would be able to take care of themselves, as long as Lise had someone to play with, as long as Q had someone to care for him, as long as everything was okay. He continued throwing gravity everywhere and anywhere. As long as they won and the warehouse was theirs, everything would be okay. He let out screams and started mumbling under his breath. Akutagawa wasn't in his line of vision. Good. The boy must have evacuated, perhaps off to find his sister and the rest. Corruption hurt. He tried to ignore the pain. His mind hazy. He could not feel perfectly or see anything. He felt as though his soul was outside his body. He didn't like that feeling. He needed this all to end, and quickly. He didn't know how long he could hold on. Perhaps he had given up. Why else would he have volunteered to help? It was simple. Chuuya didn't care whether he lived anymore. He wouldn't mind dying to corruption. He didn't have to face Koyu's disappointed expression. He would finally be at peace. He wouldn't have to see Dazai anymore. His heart wouldn't hurt around him anymore. Perfect. Chuuya didn't notice when a hand gripped him until an illuminating light blinded him. Corruption vanished, and Chuuya fell limp. His eyes tried to identify who was holding him. A long, light brown trench coat. Dazai. Of course it was Dazai. It was always Dazai. I shouldn't have let my dog come out here alone. Dazai mumbled, pulling Chuuya in closer. Chuuya's head started to spin and his eyes shut in a futile attempt to make it stop. And you should have known better than to use corruption when I wasn't here. Chuuya let out a laugh before coughing. He turned to the ground and spit out blood. One of Dazai's hands gently held his neck. Open your eyes, Chuuya. Yosono-sensei needs to make sure you're okay. Great. Even the agency doctor could see how pathetic he was. Chuuya slowly opened his eyes. Dazai was still holding him in his arms, while the doctor placed her hands on his. Butterflies appeared when she used her ability. How beautiful, Chuuya thought, dazed. All done, Chuuya, Dazai said with false cheeriness. He knew it was fake. His eyes told him that. But Chuuya was okay with it. He could pretend everything was okay. Never do that again. The doctor sighed. You really should learn to be careful. If Akutagawa had not called Dazai in time, you would have died. Chuuya flinched at her words. Yosono-sensei, Dazai said blankly, his eyes cold. The doctor looked over at Chuuya once more. Please tend to the rest. She nodded. I trust you will take care of him, Dazai? Of course. Who else would take care of my dog if not me? This was Corruption by Orphaned Account, read to you by The Devil's Advocate 18. I hope you enjoyed. And I just wanted to add, the reason I've been doing like smaller fics and the reason I've been doing more Orphaned Account fics and not the ones that I have like, asked for permission for is because I'm trying to get back into my original rhythm. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy and until next time.